At midnight, when footsteps echoed through the pediatric corridor of the children's hospital, Nurse Sarah Taylor was reviewing patient reports. As three armed attackers forced their way into the hospital and advanced toward the intensive care unit children, Sarah removed her gloves and quietly stood up. "We should hide until security arrives," whispered the intern nurse beside her. But Sarah was already walking toward the corridor because that sound wasn't foreign to her. And in the next 20 minutes, everyone in the hospital would learn who Sarah Taylor really was. Because some people wear nurse uniforms but are never helpless. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Before we continue with this powerful story, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. Sarah Taylor was the perfect night shift nurse at Metropolitan Children's Hospital. At 34 years old, she had been working at the same hospital for 5 years, never receiving complaints, quietly performing her duties. Child patients loved her because she was gentle and patient. Doctors trusted her because she remained calm in every situation. "Sarah is our most reliable night nurse," said Chief of Medicine Dr. Williams. "She's great with children, reassures families, and stays controlled even in the most stressful situations." But Sarah Taylor's ability to stay controlled came from places very different from normal nursing education. The night shift started at 11 p.m. Sarah followed the same routine every night, checking patient rooms, distributing medications, reporting to the on-call doctor. But these checks were different from an ordinary nurse. She evaluated each room with a tactical eye, noting security vulnerabilities, mentally rehearsing emergency scenarios. Her colleagues noticed Sarah's extraordinary calmness. "Sarah, you never panic," they would say. "Habit," Sarah would say briefly. She never went into details, never talked about her past. Sarah's bag was also different. Normal nurses carried basic medical supplies, but Sarah's bag contained much more: emergency communication devices, tactical flashlights, advanced first aid kits, and small details no one noticed. Sarah Taylor's real story began 15 years ago. She had joined the Marines at age 19. But why? It wasn't family tradition. It wasn't economic necessity. It was something else. As a child, Sarah had watched a school shooting on television. That day, she made a promise to herself: "I will protect defenseless children. I will get the best training." When she joined the Marines, she chose to become a security specialist. But after basic training, she was selected for more specialized training. Marine Corps Close Protection Unit, the most elite program. This program was 24 weeks of civilian protection training in high-risk areas. Sarah was one of the most successful graduates of this program. Sarah wasn't just learning protection, enemy threat analysis, crowd control, crisis management, armed attacker intervention, child and civilian protection techniques, most importantly, silent intervention and minimal force usage. Sarah Taylor's Marine Corps training wasn't just basic security. Modern Marines received advanced threat assessment, hostage situation management, and civilian protection leadership training. "A Marine's job isn't just to fight," said her instructor, Gunnery Sergeant Rodriguez. "You're the person who protects innocent lives, children, families, defenseless people. You make life and death decisions for them." Sarah embraced this philosophy. Maximum protection using minimal force, silent intervention techniques, taking leadership in crisis moments. The most difficult part of her training was armed attacker scenarios. Armed threat intervention in school environments, hospital corridors, crowded areas. Sarah developed superior skills in this area. Her first deployment was Iraq, protection specialist on the embassy security team. Sarah Taylor's most difficult intervention was stopping an attack on a school in Baghdad, using minimal force, protecting children, neutralizing attackers. Her second deployment was Afghanistan, Civilian Protection Unit. During this period, Sarah conducted the most complex protection operations: school security in war zones, protecting children's homes, civilian population security. Her third deployment was Special Operations, classified missions, high-value target protection. Over 12 years, Sarah conducted over 200 protection operations with no civilian casualties in any of them. But the event that truly changed her was what happened at a children's hospital in Kabul. Taliban attackers had targeted the hospital. Sarah protected 150 children alone for 3 hours. That night she stood against 8 attackers and didn't allow any child to be harmed. After that operation, lying in her camp, she thought about her future plans. She made a promise to herself. Now I will protect children in civilian life. I will always be ready. After receiving an honorable discharge in 2019, Sarah had transitioned to civilian life. She used PTSD therapy, adjustment counseling, and career transition support. But Sarah's goal was clear. Her protection experience from war zones directed her toward protecting children in civilian life. She wanted to work in an environment where children felt safe. Hospital nursing was a perfect choice. It reminded her why she became a protection specialist. But more importantly, it allowed her to be in the necessary position to be ready for security threats in civilian life. When Metropolitan Children's Hospital hired her, Sarah was overqualified. Nursing degree, 12 years of military security experience, close protection specialist certification. But the hiring committee didn't ask detailed questions. "I've always loved working with children," Sarah had said, and this time she was truly sincere. Sarah Taylor's duties at the hospital seemed simple: night shift, patient care, family support. But Sarah was doing much more. She evaluated every shift with a protection specialist's eye. She identified security vulnerabilities. She predetermined potential threat situations. "Sarah, how do you know security systems so well?" her colleague Jennifer would ask. "Observation," Sarah would say. "Every environment is instructive from a security perspective." This observation came from 12 years of protection training. Marines make rapid threat assessments, make critical decisions, provide civilian protection. Sarah also knew the hospital's security systems very well: emergency protocols, evacuation routes, communication systems. She had a complete security map of the hospital in her mind. On Tuesday night, March 18th, a quiet night shift had begun at Metropolitan Children's Hospital. Sarah was on duty in the pediatric section with Jennifer. At 11:30 p.m., gunshots were heard at the hospital's main entrance. Sarah immediately went on alert. This sound wasn't foreign to her. "Jennifer, keep the children in their rooms," Sarah said quietly. "No one should come out." "Sarah, what's happening?" Jennifer asked in panic. "Let's wait until security arrives," Sarah said, but she was already moving along the corridor, beginning to assess the threat. An announcement came over the hospital's loudspeaker. Code red. All personnel moved to secure areas. Sarah hesitated. There were 35 children in the pediatric corridor. The youngest was 3 years old. The oldest was 12. Sarah quietly moved toward the main corridor. Like that night in Kabul, it was time to protect children again. Looking around the corner, she saw 3 armed men. They looked professional, had plans. They had taken hospital personnel under control. Sarah made a quick analysis in her mind. 3 attackers, automatic weapons, they know the hospital layout. Their target isn't clear, but they're advancing toward the children's section. In this situation, standard protocol was to wait for security forces, but security was 15 to 20 minutes away. The children couldn't wait that long. Sarah felt her 12 years of Marine training kick in at that moment. Sarah returned to the pediatric section. Jennifer and other staff were waiting in panic. "What's the situation, Sarah?" Jennifer asked. 3 armed attackers. They're coming toward us. We need to protect the children." "Let's wait for the police," Jennifer said. "We don't have time," Sarah said decisively. "I'm going to stop them." Jennifer was shocked. "Sarah, you're a nurse. This is too dangerous." Sarah looked at Jennifer. It was time to break the secrecy. "Jennifer, I'm not just a nurse." "What do you mean?" Jennifer asked. "I served 12 years in the United States Marine Corps. I was a close protection specialist, civilian protection specialist." Jennifer couldn't believe it. "You were a soldier?" "Marine. Special mission, innocent lives protection, protecting children, families, defenseless people." "Why did you never mention this?" "Because it wasn't necessary. I'm a nurse now." Sarah pulled a small communication device from her bag. "What is that?" Jennifer asked. Emergency tactical communication. I'll protect the children until police arrive. Sarah began implementing her tactical plan. First, she positioned the children in safe locations. Children, we're going to play a game. You're the quietest mice, you won't make any sound. The children trusted Sarah's calm tone. They didn't panic. Sarah visualized the hospital layout in her mind. There were two main corridors for the attackers to reach the pediatric section. Sarah chose a strategic position where she could control both. Jennifer, stay with the children. Lock the doors. I'll be back. Sarah, please be careful. Sarah was no longer Nurse Sarah. Her 12 years of Marine training had kicked in. Sarah quietly took position in the main corridor. The first attacker was approaching the pediatric nursing station, weapon ready, advancing while targeting children's rooms. Sarah quickly made a plan in her mind. Hospital equipment, medical gases, emergency systems, all could be used for silent intervention. As the first attacker passed the nursing station, Sarah quietly opened the medical oxygen tank. She removed the high-pressure oxygen hose from its place. While the attacker was trying to open a child's room door, Sarah approached from behind. She directed the oxygen flow at full force toward the attacker's face. The powerful pressure surprised the attacker and made breathing difficult. As the attacker lost balance, Sarah took the emergency defibrillator from a nearby stand. She applied a low-voltage, muscle-relaxing electric shock. The first attacker quietly collapsed to the floor. Sarah tied him with medical restraints and made sure he was unconscious. The second attacker was approaching from the other end of the corridor. Sarah saw that he was also targeting children's rooms. Sarah accessed sevoflurane anesthesia gas from the hospital pharmacy. The field improvisation techniques she learned in military training kicked in. Using the corridor ventilation system, she concentrated anesthesia gas in the narrow area the attacker had to pass through. She made the gas invisible with a portable nebulizer. As the second attacker passed through the concentrated anesthesia area, he gradually came under its effect. His steps became heavy, his weapon began to slip from his hand. Sarah created a silent distraction with a portable suction unit. As the attacker lost focus, Sarah approached with a medical transport gurney. Using IV sedation equipment, she injected the attacker with rapid-acting sedative. The second attacker also quietly became unconscious. The third attacker was the most dangerous. He had headed directly to the intensive care unit, trying to enter the room where the youngest patients were. Sarah couldn't allow him to reach the children. This would be the final confrontation. She quietly pushed a medical equipment cart. Inside was an improvised sedation system she'd created from nitrous oxide tanks. As the attacker was opening the intensive care door, Sarah used the hospital intercom system to distract him. She locally triggered the fire alarm sound. During the alarm confusion, Sarah dispersed the medical-grade sedative gas she had taken from the cart into the area where the attacker was located. As the attacker was exposed to the gas, he began to lose balance. Sarah used this moment to activate the high-frequency sound generator from pediatric monitoring equipment. As disorientation increased, Sarah used an IV pole as a tactical weapon to neutralize the attacker's weapon. Finally, she applied the prepared sedative injection with a microneedle. The third attacker also became unconscious. The entire operation had lasted 18 minutes. 3 attackers neutralized, no child harmed, no one injured. Sarah securely tied all 3 attackers with medical restraints. They were all alive, just in a sedated state. When the emergency response team arrived at the hospital, Sarah calmly gave a situation report. 3 attackers neutralized, all children safe, no casualties, medical monitoring ongoing. The SWAT team leader was amazed when he examined the scene. No weapons used, only hospital equipment and medical expertise utilized. "How did you accomplish this?" he asked. Sarah answered while checking the children's rooms. Hospital equipment, proper training, and determination to protect children. Police teams were amazed when they arrived at the hospital and saw the scene. 3 attackers neutralized, no civilians injured. "How is this possible?" asked the SWAT team leader. "Nurse Sarah Taylor did it," said the hospital security chief. Police wanted to speak with Sarah. "Ma'am, could you identify yourself?" Sarah hesitated. Then she told the truth. Sarah Taylor, Gunnery Sergeant, U.S. Marine Corps, retired, close protection specialist. The SWAT leader couldn't believe it. You were a Marine? 12 years active duty, civilian protection, hostage rescue, counter-assault operations. Why did you become a nurse? Sarah looked at the children's ward. Because I want to protect them. When children and families learned Sarah Taylor's story, their reactions were moving. 7-year-old Emma. Nurse Sarah is a real superhero. No, sweetheart, Sarah said. I just love my job. 10-year-old Michael's mother. Sarah, we don't know how to thank you for protecting our child. I just did my job, Sarah said. No, said another mother. You're a real guardian angel. Hospital director Dr. Martinez met with Sarah. Sarah, what you did last night was incredible. Thank you, Dr. Martinez. I need to learn about your real background. Sarah explained her situation. 12 years of Marine experience, close protection expertise, civilian protection leadership. Dr. Martinez was amazed. Why do you work as a nurse? Because I want to serve children. Rank doesn't matter. Sarah, you're our hospital's most valuable guardian. Would you manage the security department? Sarah hesitated. I prefer to stay in patient care. Sarah was still working in the same nurse position at Metropolitan Children's Hospital. Hospital security had increased, staff confidence had risen. Sarah Taylor's greatest achievement was the sense of security she gave to hospital staff. As long as Sarah is here, our children are safe, Dr. Williams would say. One day, hospital director Martinez asked Sarah, Sarah, do you ever regret it? Leaving your big military career? Sarah watched the children in the pediatric ward. They were playing safely, laughing. No, Martinez, I protected soldiers for 12 years. Now I protect children. Same mission? Sarah pointed to the children. Yes, the protection mission never ends. Only the location changes. Sarah Taylor's story isn't just a heroism story. It's also the story of protection expertise, finding meaning in civilian life, the instinct to serve and never giving up. Because sometimes the greatest protectors walk as nurses in hospital corridors, to protect children. Every time Emma saw Sarah during checkups, she would say, real heroes aren't always recognized by their uniforms. The courage Sarah showed at Metropolitan that night didn't just come from military training, it came from her determination to provide protective service to children in civilian life. I'm no longer a soldier, Sarah would say. I'm a protector. But that night she showed that sometimes you have to fight to protect. So I ask you, have you ever wondered about the stories of people who serve quietly in the hospitals you visit? Do you know the hidden guardians waiting to protect your children? Share in the comments. Because here at Hidden Legends, we believe that real protectors can be found in the most caring places. If this story moved you, share it, subscribe, and help these important stories continue. See you in the next legend. And remember, the nurse at the next children's hospital you visit might have protection skills you never knew about. Real guardians change their uniforms, but never their missions.